Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and actually, good afternoon, community. How are you, Juneteenth family? Welcome to another weekly Lunch and Learn. This week's Lunch and Learn will be presenting Dr. Maurice Hinson, speaking about prevention and prevention being paramount. He's going to speak with us about using telehealth to promote health equity through increased access to high value primary care. Can we welcome up Dr. Maurice? Good afternoon, Dr. Maurice. How are you today?
Hi, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm really, really good. Welcome back to the Juneteenth stage. It's been a pleasure. A bit over a month. I hope things have been well for you since then.
Yeah, all is well. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, can you tell us a little bit before I pass you the stage and leave you here? I would love for you to introduce yourself to the community and let them know a little bit about yourself, about done, and what's important to you.
Again, my name is Dr. Maurice Hinson. I'm a general internist by training. I did my bachelor's in neuroscience at Johns Hopkins University. Did my medical degree at Drexel University College of Medicine, and did my residency in internal medicine at New York Presbyterian Weill Cornell, right here in New York. Since that time, I spent a few years as a hospitalist, going from hospital to hospital, doing inpatient medicine. But now have since founded and am CEO of MetaRoots Medical Group, which again is a telemedicine platform which specializes in the delivery of high value primary care. In addition to that, I'm also founder and advisor for the Black and Latino Men in Medicine, which I founded while in residency. And basically, that's a network of students, physicians, hospital administrators created to combat the precipitous decline of Black and Hispanic male medical graduates, but really to empower anyone interested in pursuing medicine.
Got you. Will you share? So there was like a little space in what it is exactly that it is. It was a nonprofit. Is that what you were saying?
It's not officially a nonprofit. It's actually run right out of Weill Cornell Medicine.
Oh,
So it's an
nice.
institutional based program that we run at on the campus, and is led by the medical students and advised by a couple faculty members, including myself and the associate dean of admissions at Cornell.
Nice, nice. All right. So I'm gonna to you because I have it where the real information is going to lie with you. I've seen your presentation before, and I think that the community needs to see it again. And to we'll come back if you have any questions, community. Please drop them in the comments section. And when he's done with his presentation, I'll be sure to read them out for you and get your questions asked. And thank you for joining us. I'm going to step away and I'll pass you the stage.
Thank you. All right, perfect. I'm going to entitle The Gateway to Optimal Wellness, the MetaRoots Method to Improving Health Outcomes. Again, I sort of spoke about who I am and what I've done so far, and this is just outlining some of my educational career and award thus far. So briefly, we're going to describe the state of the U.S. healthcare system. We'll introduce MetaRoots as an organization and discuss some of the goals that we have with regard to how we view our patients' health. If you weren't already aware, the U.S. spends a tremendous amount of money on healthcare. In fact, it spends almost twice the amount than any other average comparable developed country. However, we have some of the worst health outcomes, including the highest obesity rate, the greatest burden of chronic disease, as well as the lowest life expectancy. And not only does this country have the lowest life expectancy, but it's the only country out of its comparable developed countries whose life expectancy has decreased since 2010. And many argue that one of the major reasons for this is the fact that it only spends 5% on primary care and less than 3% on preventative services. And there are a number of reports that demonstrate that spending more on primary care translates to better patient outcomes, health outcomes. So now, since COVID, there's been an emergence of telemedicine, and this has the potential of really transforming how we practice healthcare here in the U.S. For one, it increases access. So no longer are you confined by space. And so it opens up a greater bandwidth of doctors being able to reach patients, whether they're in urban or rural settings, and improves the patient experience. So from what I hear and what I've gathered, going to see your doctor is actually pretty, inconvenient. For one, many instances you have to wait 2, 3, 4 weeks to see your doctor, especially your primary care doctor, because they're so overworked and backed up. And then when you finally do see your doctor, you're in the office for a half hour, hour plus, only to be called back to the back room for an additional 15, 20 minutes. And then only seeing your doctor for 5 to 10 minutes, if that. And so what telemedicine does, if practiced effectively, is it opens up the amount of appointments, because again, you're able to have more providers to care for a greater number of patients. And if managed well, there are no delays. There's, especially in Maurice, you can have a same day appointment. And if you book an appointment for 11 a.m., we'll see you at 11 a.m. And this translates to increased patient satisfaction. And all the data shows us that when patients are satisfied with their care, they tend to adhere to the plan and tend to have better health outcomes. So it really begins with the whole experience. And it reduces no-shows. So, a lot of people don't show up for their doctor's appointment for a number of reasons. A lot of it due to inclement weather, rain, snow, but we can see you from your home, wherever you are, from work. And so it benefits everyone, for the patient as well as for the provider. Now, MetaRoot specifically, we're a virtual medical platform, again, specializing in the delivery of high-value primary care. But what separates us from most primary care practices in this country is the fact that we focus on the root cause of disease rather than prescribing medication to treat symptoms. All right. And we do this by incorporating more of an integrative medical approach, meaning we harness the advances of Western medical practices as well as the proven traditional medical practices, which tend to view the body holistically, which tends to focus on the restoration of balance and energy healing. All right. And we also utilize home wellness devices that allow us to have real-time patient-centered clinical information where we can make decisions based on that information. And these are just a couple of the companies that we've partnered with. One is iHealth, and they have a special care service called United Care. So essentially what we do is we send patients the equipment that they need. So say, for example, you have a history of hypertension, high blood pressure. Well, we can send you a blood pressure cuff, and we'll teach you how to take your blood pressure the correct way. And every time you do it, which we suggest you do it on a daily basis, it sends that information to us, and we get to track in real time what your blood pressure is. Therefore, we can either increase, decrease, or take you off some of the medication that you may be on. One of the goals of MetaRoots is actually to take people off their pharmacologic agents so that they can find ways to manage their blood pressure and manage any of their chronic diseases naturally. All right. But the only way we can do that is if we closely monitor this clinical information. This is another company, Somatics, which has a proprietary wristband which detects hand motion. And what they've discovered is that they've had significant decreases in the number of falls in the elderly, as well as in urinary tract infections. And this monitors a number of different things as well, like walking, sleeping. It can even detect how much fluid you're drinking throughout the day. Because I can tell you, as someone who's practiced inpatient medicine, so the people who are admitted to the hospital, a lot of our elderly patients are admitted because of UTIs and falls. So having something like this is an incredible tool that we can use to help prevent things from happening in the first place. So just to briefly describe some of our services. So we focus on preventative care, because if you can prevent disease, then you won't have to treat disease, right? So we do this through our virtual wellness visits, coordinating immunizations, and developing screening plans. We also have a chronic care management team, which we paired with iHealth United Care. And here we align people with care specialists. We send them the home wellness devices. We counsel people on nutrition. We help them manage the diabetes and high blood pressure. And we help them manage weight loss. In fact, at the moment, I'm structuring a deal with the nutraceutical company, which will bring and offer dietary supplements that aid in weight loss. And we have a proprietary weight loss program, which we've seen some tremendous results. We also help with care coordination. So if you have issues with insurance, if you need to be referred to a subspecialist, if you need physical therapy, we can arrange that. Home health assessments to see if you have everything in your home that you need, as well as transportation services. Because even though we're a virtual platform, some offices you have to go in to their brick and mortar and actually see their provider. We also partner with a few companies where we can provide mental and behavioral health services. And that's anywhere from cognitive and psychotherapy referrals to emotional support animals and such. And this is actually how we got into Maurice. We started out focusing on medical cannabis. I'm a huge proponent of medical cannabis. I think it's been long overdue in terms of its legalization. And I would like to see more people from our communities utilizing this powerful therapeutic. I've been in this space for about a year now, and I can tell you the overwhelming majority of the people who I've certified are white people, and only a small fraction are Black and Hispanic. All right, so not only have we been demonized the most for its use and criminalized for its use, but now it seems like we're reaping the therapeutic benefits the least. And so I often have educational workshops where we can discuss how cannabis may benefit you, whether you have chronic pain, chronic headaches, issues with cancer, whether it's treatment itself or to help manage the nausea and lack of appetite from the chemotherapy and things like that. So there are a number of different medicinal properties of cannabis, and I think is at least worth discussing to see if it's something that you may want to incorporate into your life. Now, just to briefly mention some of our goals as a company with regard to our patients' health. One is to leverage the power of nature to achieve optimal health and wellness. Okay, we believe that nature has provided everything that we need. And if we relearn how to use the body's self-healing ability along with some of the natural sources of medical therapeutics, that we will see far greater and far better health outcomes. All right. I'm a huge believer in some of the traditional therapies that we know work, but aren't quite accepted in Western medicine, like acupuncture and chiropractics, meditation for sure, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, Reiki, reflexology, and one of my favorites is sound therapy as well as light therapy. And that's because sound is all around us, and because we are vibrational beings, everything in the universe vibrates. Sound impacts us and has an influence on our health and how we feel and how our bodies operate. And I think it's such a lost science, sadly, but it's something that we like to incorporate within our practice. And that says treat the source and not the symptom. So, the issue that I have with Western medicine is that it it seems that it uses a pill to solve every problem, which is not how our bodies work, right? We're far more complex beings that a pill can address, and those pills only address the symptom of the issue. They don't address the actual underlying issue. So that's why we said we focus on the root cause of disease, hence the name Meta Roots, because we believe that if you focus on the source, everything downstream would realign correctly. All right. So I don't believe in prescribing a pill for every issue that you may have. We do believe in going through a number of different assessments where we learn a lot about you to see exactly what type of or what issue may be driving you having this symptom. And then we address that issue. Okay. And again, I just described that we have a comprehensive assessment which determines all of the biopsychosocial determinants of our patient's health. So that includes their biochemistry, that includes their sleep patterns, their social dynamic, their bowel habits, sleep patterns, everything that really drives the overall health of our patients. And lastly is to promote medical independence over health equity. And what do I mean by this? Well, health equity is the state of achieving comparable access to quality care and achieving comparable health outcomes, right? But if you recall what I discussed earlier, this country has some of the worst health outcomes. And so we don't want to be made equal to something that has such poor health outcomes, right? And so I think we need to shoot for medical independence, right? The problem is not that we aim too high and miss, but that we aim too low and hit the target. So I like to stress that it's not health equity that we're after, it's medical independence, okay? And in order to accomplish this, it requires a few things. One is a true partnership, right? The relationship that you have with your doctor, your provider should be a partnership. It shouldn't be one-sided, them telling you what to do. It should be an agreement. So that doctor-patient shared agreement is crucial. Secondly is the educational piece. And I think that's the biggest piece. You need to understand your illness, okay? If your provider is not in a position or doesn't want to tell you what your illness actually is and describe it to you in a manner that you can understand it, then they're not doing their job, all right? And you need to understand the treatment. How does it work? Why does it work? These things are important in your understanding of what you're doing in terms of what you're doing and how that impacts your overall health, all right? And lastly, of course, is execution. So taking that initial step, and that's always the hardest step, right? And the initial step is actually going to see your doctor and not waiting until it's so severe that the only place that they can treat you is the emergency department or in the hospital. It's about prevention, right? And then maintaining close monitoring. And I described that briefly earlier. We're sending out the home wellness devices where we can see on a daily basis what's going on. What is your blood pressure for that day? What is your blood sugar levels for that day? How is your weight changing? For a lot of our patients who have heart failure, their weight fluctuates because when your heart fails, you retain water. So if we start to see your weight increasing over time, then we say, okay, well, maybe we need to hop in and do something more aggressive before they end up in the hospital. Because that's what it's really all about for us. We want to keep people out the hospital because, again, as someone who has worked in the hospital, that's not a place that you want to be. We do our best to reduce any further damage, but the hospital is not a good place. It's not a safe place. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone. But again, we're there because things are so severe that there's no other place for you, right? So the name of the game is to prevent you from being admitted to the hospital. And we developed this, this slide here, steps to achieving optimal wellness, because when we review some of our patients who've had really good success, there's several key things that they demonstrate. One is that they engage with primary care services. So they come and see us. They schedule their annual wellness visit, right? They're more proactive about their care, okay? That they partner with us. They're just as interested in their disease state as we are, okay? And they want to know what's going on with them. They want their labs, right? They want to know what their A1C is, which is how we monitor diabetes. They want to know what their blood pressure is. They want to know what their ejection fraction is, which is how we monitor the strength of your heart function. All right. So know the state of your health. Create a holistic wellness plan. All right. So the only way to really feel motivated about doing something is if you have a goal, right? And once you have a goal, you need to structure a plan to meet that goal. And that's something that you should formulate with your provider. And it should be from the top down, okay? Mind, body, and spirit. That's what we practice. So it's not just about providing a pill because your blood pressure is high. No. Why is your blood pressure high? Is there an increased amount of stress in your life? Do you have sleep apnea? All these things play into your blood pressure and other chronic disease states. So what is actually driving your blood pressure to be elevated? All right. And once we address that, then there will be no need for the medication. You understand? So creating a holistic wellness plan allows you to do that. And lastly, and I think most importantly, is to develop a system of accountability. And I think that's where we sort of fail as a community, because without question, there is a system in place which drives our poor health outcomes, right? They put things within our communities, the poppy stores, the convenience stores, the fast food restaurants, the liquor stores, the smoke shops. They put that at arm's length, knowing that we're going to go to those things because you go to where it's most convenient, right? But it's the convenience that's killing us, okay? And you're not necessarily a product of your circumstance, your environment, but you are the product of your decisions. And therefore, we have to begin to hold ourselves accountable for the things that happen to us and for the things that we do. All right. So, one way that we try to hold our patients accountable is, again, by close monitoring. Right. If they see that their weight is increasing, maybe they're not adhering to their diet. Maybe they're not adhering to their medication. But that signals, when they see that, it signals, okay, maybe I need to, change some things, right? So, but you won't know that unless you monitor it closely. So, however, you need that inspiration, that motivation, whether you need a life coach, a health coach. We're also in the process of developing health coaching services. So, however you need to determine or create this system of accountability, do it, because it's actually absolutely imperative. All right. And that concludes my presentation. I'll gladly answer any questions that you may have. And again, it's been a pleasure to speak with you all.
Beautiful. Thank you. So right now, we have no questions in the chat box, but we definitely have some agreeances with you. We had a Sheila Cox said truth at about the 12:17 out in the hour. And Miss Deborah Edmondson said that she agrees with you about the hospital not being where we want to be. So there were just some things that I wanted to kind of like touch bases on a little bit. I love the statement, the product of our decisions. And that shows up in so many places. Like you mentioned the fast food, you mentioned the liquor store, you mentioned the things that don't necessarily serve us. And I think that that's just something that we have to look at a little bit more. How we are the product of our decisions. We hear that all our lives growing up about our friends and the people that maybe we choose to hang out with, but we're not really, as a whole, the community. We were kind of, I feel like we were awoken during COVID. It kind of had us start to shift to kind of look at things differently. Of course, we have people that, our community is about health as well, but not really as a whole, and really understanding the large overall picture and why our numbers are, so high and so much higher than others. And I think that that was just a beautiful way to state it, kind of short, sweet, and simple, that we are the product of our decisions. So I just didn't want to let that just go by. I did want to ask you to speak a little bit more and share a little bit more, because outside of your telehealth and meta roots, you have a lot of other things that you have going on. And one of the things that I admire about you, and being able to have the honor to even to be here presenting with you or interviewing you, is the fact that you look like me, and you're a doctor and you're a male. So talk about the work that you do with the youth, because I know something from your bio that you work with the youth and children, and have a nonprofit, and then also do some work with men that are interested in medicine. So could you speak a little bit to that, and how our community could reach out to you, how they could get involved with you and do work with you, bring you into other youth services, all of that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so during my second year of residency, I found myself in a really tough spot for several reasons. So when I came in, I was one of maybe a handful of black male residents, right? So maybe four of us in a department of 146. By the time I was a third year, I was the only black males that was present in the department. And I remember running into a few issues, in the hospital where, I had to stand up for other patients and things of that nature. And it always put me in a very compromising position, because again, I was just a resident, and my advancement was contingent on evaluations and things like that. But here I am having to deal with, these racially charged comments, and I wasn't one to bite my tongue, which which at times got me in trouble. But I knew I wasn't the only one dealing with that. And so what we did was I reached out to a number of my colleagues in various departments, other black males, and I said, you know what, let's sit down and talk about this, because I'm sure everybody's got some things they need to get off their chest. So it actually started out more as like a therapy session. It was a group of us. We had the summer students, the college students, we had medical students, we had residents, and we had faculty. It was the whole lineage in this one room, eating pizza, really chopping it up and talking about the things that we were dealing with. And then, one of the things that we ended with was that we had to do more than just talk about these issues, right? As great as it is to get it off your chest, what can we do to improve it? And so that was the birth of the Black and Latino Men in Medicine. And we said we need to start early. So we actually go as early as ninth grade for who we bring on to be a part of our Science and Leadership in Medicine program, SLIM. So SLIM started out as a 6-week program where we had the students come into Cornell, and we put up on more like a speaker series and clinical skills workshop for them. And all of the speakers were people of color, not necessarily just men. And again, don't let the title confuse you. Most of our students are actually young Black women. All right, we're not exclusive to men, but this is the group that we're targeting because of the precipitous decline in our numbers. I'm not sure if you all are familiar, but since 1986, we've seen a near 30% decline in the number of Hispanic male medical graduates, and a near 40% decline in the number of Black male medical graduates. And Black men, as it stands, only account for 2.9% of all physicians. So we're going extinct, right? So this is not just an issue, this is a crisis, right? This, when you talk about the state of Black male health, we need more of us to be able to help us, and that's really what this is about. But we're out to, again, empower any student who wants to pursue a career in medicine and give back to our communities. And the way, COVID kind of crushed them being able to come to the campus. But now that things are opening up again, we're hoping to reestablish that. Since COVID started, everything's been virtual, and we've still been doing things. We've still been doing some engaging clinical skills workshop. Like they learned how to suture. We sent all of the students suture kits to their homes. They all get white coats. When they complete the program, we have a white coat ceremony just so that they can see and know what it is to feel like an actual doctor, because it's the psychological component that we have to address more than anything else. Because most of us can't even fathom being able to be in this position. And so that's why we put people in front of them who look like us, and we have them wear the white coat, so that they can see us and they can feel like us, and because once that belief is ingrained, then the reality is just a matter of time, so
That part. I was going to ask, because that's kind of what came up for me. I'm just thinking, as a parent of a young man, and just thinking over in my mind the things and the myths that we may hear out here, that some parents, I know when I was younger, it was definitely like, oh, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer. It was like a push in certain areas, and it seems like I have noticed that decline. I know that we're definitely, a huge amount of parents are pushing children to be entrepreneurs, but in the energy and the fact that we're here on a Juneteenth platform, and Juneteenth being about a place where we actually lived and was in a space of self-sustainability, I want the community to really open our eyes and look at what that really means to our community. The fact that Black doctors are going extinct.
yeah,
That is very detrimental to a sustainable future. We have Miss Alquintia that speaks with us, that speaks about the state of emergency that our community's in, and how our folks and how most of our businesses are not sustainable businesses. They're businesses that when things hit the fan, people won't be looking for these services. They won't be looking for these products. They won't be spending that money.
right.
And I know that I have it, that part of it is, that fear of maybe taking on the financial commitment that it takes, and not only the financial, but also having to deal with those racial disparities and the things that are out there. I have some friends that are midwives that going through getting into those programs, looking at how many of us, how hard it is for us to get into the larger programs. I know that those things can be challenging, but it seems to me to be worth it if in the end, not only are we having people that look like us that are taking care of us, but we lead towards becoming a more sustainable group of folks in this world.
Yeah,
I do want to ask a question. We do have a question before
sure.
we move on. I don't want Miss Edmondson to feel ignored, or hopefully she's still there waiting for the answer. But she wants to know, can you tell the community how they can become a client in your practice? I know
Uh,
that they did drop the information on how to reach out to you, but how do they actually become a client?
so we have a website, metalroots.com. All right, so that's MEDIROOTZ.com. You can go in there, check us out. But there's a tab that follows you that says book an appointment. So whenever you're available, you want to come see me and see one of our providers, just go in there and book an appointment. All right. We see all insurances. Our primary target are Medicaid and Medicare patients, so underrepresented, low to middle income people. If you don't have insurance, we'll work with you. We'll do a pay scale, but I think a lot of what we preach doesn't necessarily require money to address, because once you start to really tease out what the issue is, you'll realize that you can address it yourself. There's no need to have to purchase all this expensive medication and surgeries and things of that nature. You can, I've given a talk on the power of meditation and intent. When you go in with intention, things happen. You manifest what you think. And that's not just some quack feeling. Like that's a true statement. The universe listens to your thoughts. And so you have to be careful of your thoughts. But that intentionality really drives changes. In medicine, we have every study, every scientific study that they do, they compare it to what they call a control group, which is normally a mock medication. So say they want to, they want to try a new aspirin pill, see if it's just as effective. Well, they'll compare the aspirin pill to like a sugar pill, right? And then what they see is some people actually have changes from the sugar pill. So is it really the medication that's doing the job? No, it's not the medication per se. It's you thinking that the medication is going to work. If you believe that it's going to work, then it's going to work, you know. And so I like to, impress upon people how important it is to speak things and think things into existence. And again, that's a huge part of what we do, energy healing, because the basis of all disease is energetic imbalance. You can, whether it's diabetes and people pointing at the pancreas not producing insulin, sure. Whether it's high blood pressure, sure. But it's all an energetic imbalance, whatever that energy form is. Stress disrupts your entire body's energy. Poor nutrition disrupts your body's entire energy. And what I find is that I would say 90 to 95% of all chronic disease is the product of chronic stress and poor nutrition. And these are things that we can change. And that's what I said. The overwhelming majority of disease is entirely preventable. So we won't, our goal is to get you to a point where you understand that, first of all, you decondition this belief that you have to rely on the medication. Hence why we're talking, promoting medical independence. Stop thinking you need something else or someone else and start taking accountability for yourself and what you put in your body in terms of nutrition and how you respond to various stresses, because you can't stop the stressor, but you can manage how you respond to it, right? So a lot of this is about engaging with people to teach you effective methods to deal with stress, to teach you effective methods to eat appropriately, because and I think my colleagues have to understand this too, is that doctors don't heal people. People heal themselves, so but we kind of have to, it starts with us. They always said the revolution will not be televised, right? That's because it starts here, right? And until we change how we think, we won't see any changes. And all these industries, the healthcare industry, pharmaceutical industry, they understand how we think, how we behave. They know they can market this pill as, oh, you can eat and do whatever you want. You take this pill, it'll correct what you've done. They know people will eat that up, but no, that's not how it works. That's not how nature works. So we have to sort of deconstruct how we think and start taking ownership for what we do and the choices that we make. And that, one of the first choices is seeing a primary care doc. Come see us. Let's start there. If you don't like us, find someone who you do like. But the matter is, you have to engage in healthcare before it becomes so severe that you end up in the emergency room or in the hospital. Because once you get to that point, now you're really part of the system. The hospital system works just like the criminal justice system on the comeback. They know that the people who are admitted once are likely going to be admitted again because they're not addressing the underlying issue.
Yeah, and a lot of times once you start taking one medicine, you end up on more medicines.
Right. And that's why we try, to that point, that's why we try to get away from the whole, pharmacologic agents, is because, you take a medication, then you have to take another one for the side effects of that one. But when you get into herbal therapy, you understand, like, plants give you exactly what you need and really not more. Rarely do I hear a case, take, for example, aspirin. We're all familiar with aspirin, right? If you take too many aspirins, you're going to get acid reflux, you'll get peptic ulcer disease, you'll get GI bleeding, and you take one too many, it'll kill you, right? But the natural source of aspirin, or at least one of the natural sources of aspirin, is willow bark, right? Willow bark has been used for ages, thousands and thousands of years. People ate willow bark all day. It's nearly impossible to overdose on willow bark. You know, you'll probably stop eating before it'll kill you. You know, but
Mhm.
this is what plants do. You know, we have an intrinsic relationship with plants, so they give us exactly what we need, and rarely does it, you know, damage us to the point where we have some sort of disease state. So, you know, I'm a huge proponent. I'm self-taught in herbal therapy. I'm still learning. But you know, having been trained in Western medicine, I see what it's great at, but I
Mhm.
also see what it lacks. You know, and one of the biggest things that it lacks is viewing the body holistically. We are not subdivided into organs. Everything is interconnected. Focusing on the symptom and not the source, you know, and getting away from nature. Like we don't like it took billions of years for us to reach to this point. We are not going to outdo nature. We are not going to create something that's better than nature. So why not go to nature? And you know, I think a lot my last point, I think a lot of people don't understand where they get these medications from. They go into nature, right? They see what people take, what herbal therapies they take, they break that plant down. Exactly. They break that plant down and find the
Synthesize it and
active
charge
compound.
it.
Exactly. So, you know, and I always make the joke, your neighborhood dope boy knows how to run this play well. Cut out the middleman. Go straight to the source. You get a better product, a more pure product for cheaper. You know, we have to get back into reuniting with nature,
Oh,
learning how to grow our own foods, grow our own medicines, right? So, you know, that's kind of where we're at. And again, I don't know if you know this, but we launched on Juneteenth at your event. So you gave us
oh,
the platform
oh,
for us to
super.
really come out. So, you know, I really appreciate you and you all and what you've done. You've done an amazing job. So I really
Oh,
appreciate everything. But
that,
yeah,
that is such an honor because while I got a very clear picture of your work when you were doing your slides both times, something about when you started to really break down and speak back to Miss Edmondson and respond to her, I got a very clear, like such a clearer vision. I was like, okay, holistic. And but once I hear you actually speak without the slides and really explain what you're passionate about, it's a priceless experience to just have the honor to be part of like something that is like the birthing of a baby for you.
yeah,
And I have it that these are the type of things that are going to change our community. Actually
mm,
having someone that is of the medical field that admits and says and actually does the research, is doing the work to honor the fact that we do need a kind of blend of both types of medicine,
yeah,
that one doesn't need to knock the other out, that
right,
I've always felt like that. I try my best not to take anything, and I try my best to. I've created my own UTI tea. I used
good,
that. It took about a week and a half to clear up versus the 3 to 4 days, but I didn't have to put antibiotics in my body.
right,
Flushed out
right,
with that pint of tea every day, and maybe if I flushed even more, it might have gone out quicker. But you know, in like you said, although there are rare instances that herbs do anything to us, when you are, you know, adding things, you still want to be mindful, just like how they say consult your physician on things.
absolutely,
Even if you don't consult your physician, you still want to be mindful of what you're ingesting and how
absolutely,
much of it you're ingesting.
absolutely.
But so I, again, it's an honor. And I did want to share that you do have some feedback in
Oh, good.
the chat box. So uh, soon to be Dr. Edmondson, thanks you for your response to how to become a client. And she says that she'll be sharing it with her community. Miss Sheila Cox agreed with the positive thinking and getting rid of the medication. She said, well said, doctor. And Miss Edmondson, and like I said, soon to be doctor, says that she's a medical professional, currently a PhD student in health services research. And this is the focus of her dissertation. And
Oh,
that was
awesome.
the last part of our conversation.
Awesome, awesome,
Um,
awesome. Yeah, much appreciated. And again, feel free to give out my email address. You know what I pride myself on personally is being able to come out and speak. You know that's really where the magic happens, where you actually speak to people and engage with people. I think the best way to impact our community is to go through the community and work with the community. So that's why, again, I appreciate you all and providing this platform for us to engage with our people. So yeah, please, one of our focuses is going through the church to speak about the state of our health, even cannabis. You'd be surprised. Churches are starting to become a lot more open to medical cannabis. It's a plant. It was God gave it.
That's what I was about to say. It sure makes sense to me. For the open-mindedness to be there, especially to something that exactly like you went right there. That is a plant. So before we, just to kind of wrap us up, I had written down at your last slide, engage, partner, know, create, and develop. If you could just recap that for us, and again, Meta Roots really quickly, so that way the community is just reminded again of what's important.
Yeah, so the first step is to take that first step and to engage with a provider, especially a primary care doc. All right, because primary care physicians are sort of the centerpiece to all of medicine, right? They're the gatekeepers to all the subspecialists. And that's the great place to start, because we focus on prevention, or at least a good one does. All right. And they'll try to break down the things that may be going on that they can address. And again, a good one will try to work through that without medication first, certainly without surgery first, and try to see if there are more conservative ways that we can deal with it. All right. So the first step is to engage with the primary care system. Next is to partner with the provider that focuses on high value care. All right. So not every practice is made equal. All right. So not every practice is made equal. Some practices are a factory, and because of how the healthcare system is constructed, they have to see a patient every 8 minutes just to flip a profit. What can you accomplish of quality in 8 minutes, for a person that you haven't seen in a year or 2 years? That's not possible. It's not realistic. And that's why, I think that's why we're in this state, the dire state that we're in now, is because not enough money is being pumped into primary care first. And primary care is so disorganized and fragmented. But this is the power of telemedicine. And this is why I think this is going to be the future of healthcare, because this allows us to streamline things a bit. And once you start to increase the number of providers that you have within your network, you allow for a greater number of patients and a greater amount of time with that provider. I think one of the biggest complaints that I've heard so far is that they wait all this time to see their doctor and then only see them for like 5 minutes. That's not okay. And then they have to wait all day. They have to take off from work, from school, whatever, to go to the doctor. Not everyone can afford to do that, but if you have 15, 20, 30 minutes during your break, dial in, let's talk. Most of the time, I would say 75 to 80% of the time, I can diagnose the issue without having to lay hands on you, right? And if it ever gets to that point, we're structured where we can send someone out to you. Soon enough, we will have a brick and mortar, but that's not the staple of what we're doing. We're trying to increase access as much as we can. All right, not limit ourselves through a brick and mortar. But there are certain things that do require hands-on medicine, which we will develop at some point. But that's still to come. The third thing is know the state of your health, right? So know what your numbers are. You don't know what to change if you're not aware of a problem. So you can't be afraid of the unknown. And I think, or I should say, most people are afraid of the unknown. So the way you address that is to know, because once you know, then we can create a plan in order to address it. All right. Next is create a holistic plan. And we highlight holistic because, again, we're not separated into organ systems. We're one being. We're a composition of mind, body, and spirit. And so because we're this complex being, and we are every form of energy, okay? We're thermal energy. We're chemical energy. We're electromagnetic. That's one the electromagnetic piece is one that I'm studying at the moment, because this is where we can really get into the heart and the crux of a lot of our issues. We've lost this completely, this understanding that we are electric beings. And because we're electric beings, we're also magnetic beings. And what magnets do is they attract and they repel, right? So that means we have the ability to attract things that we desire and to repel things that we don't desire. We have to get back to this understanding, okay? And lastly is to develop a system of accountability. And I think that's across all lines, whether it's fitness, whether it's, your educational studies, whether it's your personal relationships. You have to develop a system of accountability. And there's no greater or more important priority than your health, right? So part of that has to be remaining disciplined, and partnering. You can't always do it yourself, and don't feel like you have to. I think that's sort of a psychological issue also. Many of us, we grow up feeling like we have to do things ourselves because it's always been a struggle, right? But no, don't reinvent the wheel. Partner with somebody who's been there and done that, who can show you the ropes. That's mentorship, right? And that's partnership. So, partner with a primary care provider, partner with a life coach, a health coach, someone who maybe all you need is that call. Say, hey, listen, you missed the gym yesterday. We're not doing 2 days in a row. Hey, listen, I know you've been going out to eat every day, and but sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need that. And the people who I've seen the greatest amount of success are people who have others who are doing it with them. So, a lot of times we bring in spouses, friends, make it a competition. We all feed off competition. It's okay.
And we all need an accountability partner sometimes. It's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I'm so two things that came up for me while watching, I'm like, okay, system of accountability, creating a system of accountability actually allows us to become a better product of our decisions. I'm like really taking away. So those were my key takeaways. And I hope that has these takeaways. So what I'm going to put that together a little better. So I had it that if we engage, partner, know, create, and develop, we then can create a system of accountability, which then has us become a better product of our decisions.
There you go. I like that. I might have to steal it.
I was just going to say no, because it's actually yours. These are your
statements. I like how you put it. Yeah.
That's literally the walk away for me today, outside of the opportunities to partner and power. Dr. Hinson is offering to partner and power with you, community. So if you want to reach out, we've dropped his email in the chat. We've dropped the website if you'd like to utilize the telehealth services. And please, please, please do. Please share it with the community. Share it with your friends. It's like Athenia said, she said, this is pretty dope, that it's really dope that people will have the option, to come, that medical deserts like Brownsville and East New York, that people could reach out. So that was actually going to be my last question to you for today, outside of just offering you the floor to share any last minute, anything that came up for you maybe in these last moments. What areas do you actually service? I know telehealth, obviously, it sounds like people can call in from anywhere, but as far as sending people out to the homes, what areas do you service? Or is that everywhere as well?
Everywhere. My target areas are East New York, Brownsville, Harlem. I mean, if you go on, New York has the community health data website. And when you go there, you'll see these areas have by far the worst health outcomes in the entire city, the entire state for that matter. We've been doing a fair amount of work in Harlem. Harlem has like the number one incidence of new HIV cases.
Oh, wow.
East New York, the zip codes in East New York, they have like some of the highest rates of hospitalization and lowest life expectancies. So it's, these are the target areas. And the reason why the health is so poor is because no one is really focusing on these areas. You know, the way medicine is practiced, the way medicine has been practiced is passive. We wait for people to come to us and then complain that, oh, you know, the population health is so poor. Well, that's not how that works. And, you know, and I've had this conversation with a number of my colleagues, of course, being white or Asian, whatever, people who don't really understand. It was like, oh, well, how come more Black people don't come to see us? Why would they? Why would they?
The trust for
Right.
a lot of our people that are there to help us, whether it be the officers, whether it be the doctors, it's just a lack of trust. And I also have it that gentrification plays a role in that. When the community starts to shift to a community that can sustain themselves because of their insurance level, or maybe they already traveled downtown to NYU or over to Columbia Presbyterian and already have their primary doctor, that they don't have to have any insurance battles about or any worrying about paying for medicines and things like that. The community it almost becomes overlooked and like kind of blindsided, because now that's the smaller community, because now most of the people in the neighborhood, I know a lot of Harlem now, the demographic has changed and what income level is, and that has a bearing on all of this. I want to thank you. This has been a very full hour. Thank you for that. I was just about to respond to you, Ms. Edmondson, that yes, there will be a replay of this. The replay will live on the Facebook page as well as the YouTube page. And Dr. Maurice, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure. And I'm sure we'll be meeting in a space again.
Absolutely.
Doing something of this work and partnering in power in some kind of way.
Absolutely. Much appreciated.
All right, community. Sorry about that, ladies. I'm over here multitasking, getting my hands all in ways that it shouldn't be in. Thank you, community. I hope that you really had some major takeaways from today's conversation. Please watch the replay. There's always something else that we may have missed in the middle. Share the replay. And please, please, please use MetaRoots services. So next week, we will have with us artist Terrell Tuggle, and he'll be discussing the importance of following your goals and dreams in life by creating a comprehensive plan on how to achieve those goals. Thank you again for being with us this week, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you.